You're 7 years old, lying in the dark while the house sleeps, staring at the ceiling as if the answers to everything might be written there in invisible ink. The clock ticks too loud. Your mind races too fast, and you're asking questions no one else seems to ask. Why do people pretend? What happens after we die? Why does mom cry when she thinks no one's looking? You whisper them into the night, but the silence answers back with nothing. So you swallowed the questions whole, because when you tried saying them out loud at dinner, eyes glazed over, and someone changed the subject to cartoons. They called you intense. You learned that word meant too much. Most people never realize that the first time they felt fundamentally wrong was the first time they dared to think too deeply. But here's what no one ever told you. You rehearse entire conversations that will never happen, then feel stupid when they don't. You sit in meetings counting the seconds until you can speak, then stay silent because no one will follow you where you're going. You feel guilty for thinking while other people talk, like your mind is rude for existing. You can't watch a 30-second commercial without unpacking the manipulation behind it. You mourn friendships years before they end because you already see the cracks. You leave parties early because small talk feels like drowning in a kiddie pool. You crave one real conversation and get 1,000 weather updates instead. You've been called intense, overthinker, too serious. So many times that you flinch when someone asks what you're thinking. You translate yourself into simpler words just to keep people from backing away. You feel loneliest in crowded rooms because no one is speaking your language. You've learned to smile and nod while screaming inside. This is the daily life of the deep thinker who learned early that depth equals danger. And this is where it gets interesting. Psychologists have a quiet term for minds like yours: overexcitability. It's not a disorder. It's an upgrade most people never receive. Your brain was born with denser neural highways in the regions that search for meaning, that feel empathy too sharply, that refuse to let anything stay so. Gifted researcher Kazimierz Dabrowski found that some nervous systems come wired with extra intensity. Intellectual, emotional, imaginational, like a radio that picks up stations no one else can hear. While most children were learning to name colors, you were learning to name the ache behind them. Your mind didn't choose depth. Depth chose you. And because no one explained the difference between a normal mind and yours, you spent years believing you were broken, for feeling everything 10 layers deeper. The truth is, this gift came with a silent cost. This shows up as sitting in a circle of laughter and feeling like you're rewatching it through glass. You can predict exactly how every relationship will end, and you're almost always right. So you leave first and call it self-protection. You date people who feel safe because they never ask you to go deeper, then lie awake, starving for a conversation that never comes. You burn out in jobs that reward speed and punish reflection. You carry existential weight no one else seems to notice, like gravity is heavier on your shoulders alone. You've mastered the art of seeming light, while drowning in questions no one else thinks to ask. You feel guilty for wanting more, when everyone else seems content with less. You're surrounded by people yet permanently unseen, because the real you lives 10 floors beneath where most are willing to travel. And maybe that's the real tragedy. This wasn't a flaw. This was the only safe room a sensitive child could build. Your mind learned early. If you understood everything, people, patterns, endings, before they happened, maybe nothing could blindside you again. Thinking too much wasn't escape. It was armor. Feeling everything wasn't weakness. It was reconnaissance. While other kids were protected by parents, you were protected by foresight. You built a watchtower inside your head because the ground floor kept flooding. Depth wasn't a curse. It was the most sophisticated defense a small heart could invent when no one else was coming to save it. You didn't break the rules of childhood. You rewrote them just to stay alive. But here's what they don't understand. They looked at you and saw too much. They were terrified of their own emptiness. Your intensity didn't scare people away. It reminded them of everything they've buried. The questions that keep you up at night are the same questions that wake sleeping souls. The depth that exhausts you is the exact medicine a numb world is secretly dying for. Your mind isn't a storm, it's a lighthouse. And lighthouses don't apologize for shining too bright for ships that never plan to come home. They called you intense because shallow felt safer. You called it exile. The truth is, you were never too deep for this world. The world was too shallow for you. What most people don't realize is that healing doesn't mean thinking less. It means finally finding the few who were built with the same extra floors. You get to walk away from conversations that starve you without explaining why your soul is hungry. You get to say this feels shallow out loud and let the silence do the rest. You get to stop translating your thoughts into kindergarten language just to keep people comfortable. You get to seek the 3 people who swim at your depth instead of settling for the hundreds who only wade. You get to protect your mind the way no one protected the 7-year-old, asking questions in the dark. You get to be unapologetically deep in a world that taught you depth was dangerous. It's not too late to stop shrinking and start searching for the ones who were born with extra flaws too. Because maybe, for the first time, you're not too deep for this world. The world was too shallow for you. That 7-year-old lying awake in the dark, asking questions the adults were afraid to touch. She wasn't broken. She was becoming the person who would one day refuse to live half alive. And now you get to stop dimming the light just to keep others comfortable. You get to stop apologizing for the size of your mind, the weight of your heart, the reach of your questions. You get to stand all the way up, uncontracted, unashamed. And finally meet the few who are built with the same extra floors, the same wide open skies inside their chests. You were never lost. You were just ahead. And the ones who are ready for you have been looking for your light their whole lives.